welcome to another episode of Woman Witness Podcast, The Stories at the Well. I'm your host, Leah Fortier. Today, I have a very special topic and a very special guest that I'd love to introduce you to. But before I introduce her, I want to talk a little bit about infertility. Infertility, according to the World Health Organization, it is a prevalent global health problem affecting approximately about 15% of couples in the reproductive age. And I'm not going to get into too much details. I'm going to give the floor over to my guest who's going to go into more details. However, I do feel that this is a very important topic that needs a lot of light, needs a lot of attention. And I am so grateful to my guest who is willing to come be vulnerable and tell her story and share her truth. So I am so ecstatic to introduce my special guest today, Carrita Flie. Carrita, welcome to the well. How are you?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I am doing wonderful. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Carrita, I want to just start by saying thank you for being vulnerable. And thank you for coming and sharing your story. And I don't want to take up a lot of your time, but I want you to introduce us. Tell us who you are.
Oh my goodness. I feel like there's so many pieces. Every time I'm asked to introduce myself, I'm like, where do I start? So I am a mom of two, author, entrepreneur, all the things. Prior to my journey with pregnancy, loss, and infertility, I worked in law enforcement and the legal field. So this is a completely different road for me, but I feel like this is where God has led me to sharing my story through writing, interviewing, my nonprofit organization that I founded, the Premium Promise Project, to serve NICU families. I have Love Always Carrita, which is, my program I use for writing. I truly believe that writing is an amazing tool for healing. So I do that as well. And I just feel like as we go through the interview, there's going to be so many other pieces that come up.
Yes, I don't want you to tell us all.
Yes.
Save some for us. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, and you're right. That is a huge jump. But sometimes I do believe that your pain and the things that you've worked through will push you into your purpose.
Absolutely.
So I'm grateful for your story. And I love the fact that you're an author and you have a nonprofit that I can't wait to talk about. But I want to talk to you. You have a very interesting story, and you have a story that relates to a lot of couples. As I just read briefly here, about 15% of couples at reproduction age. So I can tell you that I was one of them. So I am very, very grateful that you want to jump in and tell us a little bit about your story. So if you can, talk to us a little bit about navigating through the journey. Most of us, when we start off, I think, right, we grow up, we have this big, pretty dream that, we're going to get married, we're going to have kids, we're going to live in a big house, a white picket fence.
Yeah.
What do we do, Carrita, when it doesn't work out that way?
Oh my goodness. And you hit the nail on the head. I read a quote that said, after my first miscarriage, I feel like I lost my innocence. And I feel like that was so 100% true, because you have this mindset like, oh, everyone around me has babies and, they have 3 or 4 or 5 babies. So it can't be that hard, to become a mom. And then you find yourself in this seat where I had my first miscarriage at 23. So I was very young. And it was actually the week of my college graduation. I'll never forget it. The doctor said to me, all his response was, you're really young. You can keep trying. There was no testing to see what happened. Nothing. It was just, you can keep trying. And I walked away from that and I said, you know what? That's it. You're right. I can keep trying. One day I'll try again. And I just kind of bottled that up and moved on. And so I feel like my second miscarriage is when things kind of shifted for me. When I realized this is an issue. This is my second unexplained loss. I have no clue why. I was 14 weeks along, so it wasn't like, a super early loss. And so I kind of needed to turn on the advocate in me. You don't really know what you're capable of until you have to do it.
Amen.
And that was at the moment where I realized I needed to start advocating for myself, because the physicians that I was seeing didn't really care too much that this 20-something-year-old Black lady keeps losing her babies. It was just kind of a thing where you're young, keep trying. And so at that point, I did transfer care to another facility, and they were so much more helpful. And I just want to interject that do not be afraid to change doctors.
Come
Do not
on.
be afraid to change hospitals. Get second, third, fourth, fifth opinions, whatever
Yes,
you have to do. That's a whole nother spiel,
absolutely.
but I
Yes,
had to throw that in there. Don't be
yes.
afraid to change.
Because it's
You
so
know
easy to
yourself.
stay there.
Yes,
It's a little bit.
yes. And so I think after my second loss, we kind of started to talk about some things. One of them was the possibility of me having an incompetent cervix, which
Mm,
just means your cervix does not stay as strong as it needs to during pregnancy. It either opens too early or shortens too early. And in
mm,
my case, mine was shortening. And
mm.
so when I was pregnant with my son, which this would be now my third pregnancy,
Right.
and my biggest thing was I don't want to lose this baby. I cannot live with another loss. That was my thought. You know,
Mm,
God has other plans. I eventually did have a third miscarriage, but thank God it was not with my son. And so when I got pregnant with my son, we talked about the whole incompetent cervix thing. But again, the medical provider did not want to give me what's called a cervical cerclage, which is a stitch in the cervix to keep it closed while you're pregnant. And he says, I'm not sure if you need that. If I give it to you now and your water breaks, then it'll rip your cervix. And I said, okay. Me just going along with him, I said, fine. 21 weeks pregnant, I go in for a routine appointment, and the doctor goes, are you contracting or anything? I'm like, no. She's like, does anything hurt? I'm like, no. She's like, you have less than 1 centimeter of cervix left. And
oh,
you need to go to the like, don't go home, go to labor and delivery. We're going to do
oh,
an emergency surgery to see if we can give you a cerclage. And I'm like, what? So my head is spinning. My head is spinning because
the
I've
same
never
thing.
heard exactly. You know, all these things that I'm like, what is happening to me and why is it happening so fast? And she
Wow.
goes, well, because you're 21 weeks, the possibility of breaking your water is very high. If we break your water, putting in the cerclage, your son will not survive. He's way too small. But that's a chance that we have to take. So here I am, like, I know you're kidding me, God. Like, seriously, I've
Right.
lost 2 babies. You let me get to 21 weeks, and now you're going to take my son from me. Like,
Right.
this cannot possibly be how my story is going to end.
Right.
And by the grace of God, we got the cerclage and it was okay. It held. But at 26 weeks, 26 weeks, I started contracting.
Oh my
The
God.
cerclage was still in place. So some people say that the cerclage worked or did it not. I feel like it worked to get me to a point where my son could be born and get medical attention. And so
Mm.
for me, that's a win. Because if he
Yes,
would have come at
absolutely.
21 weeks, there would have been nothing that could be done. But at
Um,
26 weeks, there was so much more that could be done to save his life. And so at
right.
26 weeks, I went in and I'm
Mm.
like, something's wrong. I think my nurse is like, nope, you're not having contractions. You're on the monitor. You're fine. I'm like, okay, we're not doing this again.
No,
I have let
no.
you guys do this for years at this point because now this is my
Yeah,
third pregnancy. You guys
right.
want to gaslight me, dismiss what I'm feeling. That we're not doing it. Like
No.
I am 26 weeks pregnant. If my
And I'm
son
gonna
comes today, you can save him.
right.
So
Ooh,
I don't want to go home and God forbid he, just comes out and there's nothing
right.
I can do.
Right.
So the nurse is like, but I'm telling you, you're not having contractions, all these things. Fine. My doctor finally comes. She checks my cervix. She says, I feel a cerclage, but you're 6 centimeters dilated and I can feel your son's feet.
Oh
You're
my
about to have a C-section like now. We don't have time for anything else but to get you into surgery.
no epidural.
I got the
Oh,
epidural. Thank God.
I was
Thank
just
God.
like, wait a minute.
Thank God. And it was between that and just putting me to sleep. And thank God we were able to do the epidural because I don't think I would have wanted to be put to sleep and miss that moment. Although
No.
it was extremely traumatic, it
Yeah.
was painful. I needed to, I was finally going to give birth to a living child. And
Yes.
I did not want to miss that moment.
Yes.
And by the
Mm.
grace of God, he came out and they're like, he's not going to make any sounds. He's a pound and 13 ounces,
Oh my
maybe less. We won't know until he comes out, but we'll take care of it. When they
yeah.
pulled him out, he let out this little whimper. And I just lost it because I was like, that was God's way of letting me know that
Hold
he
on.
was okay.
Yeah, he's gonna be all
He was
right.
all right. And so I felt like, and that part of my story always makes me so emotional because God is just that good. That
Yes.
even in the worst moments, even in the most painful moments, there's
Yes.
a glimmer of light that he gives us.
Just a little
And
bit.
that little whimper that he let out was like, oh my God, like, Mom, I'm okay. It's okay, girl. I'm here, I'm breathing, I'm okay. And so, oh my gosh, my son was in the NICU for 116 days, which I can't even, I think any NICU mom will say there's really no words to explain that journey. It's up and down, and one day they're okay, one day they're not. They're on a ventilator, then they're just on a nasal case. I mean, oh my gosh, and you don't know anything about the experience because you've never lived it before.
Never
You
been
haven't
there.
gone through it. Yeah, this is completely new, and this is my first baby, and I'm like,
Right.
why? Like, what is this? What is happening? And
did you get to hold him at all?
I did not get to hold my son for 19 days. I went to see him every day, even with my C-section pain and all that. And I kept going. I kept going. Some days I'd be able to touch him. Some days I couldn't touch him because he was too fragile. But at 19 days, I was finally able to hold him. And that is the most indescribable feeling. I cannot even put into words. Because again, like you said, we have this image of giving birth, right? You have your baby, they put your baby on your chest, and it's this glorious experience. Like, oh my gosh, we did it. And no, like
it doesn't always happen that way.
No. And I think that is also why I'm so passionate about sharing my story. Because when those moments are stolen from us because of, birth trauma, pregnancy loss, things like that, you don't really know how to heal from that because you almost feel guilty because you're like, well, at least my child was okay. He was living. I shouldn't be sad. But that's something to grieve. That's a loss of experience that you're grieving.
It is.
And I think that's one of the biggest parts of me sharing my story, that there's a lot of grief and trauma and healing that has to take place once you've gone through pregnancy loss and infertility and the NICU journey. And not only was my son born at 26 weeks, but he was also born with something called an encephalocele, which is a neural tube opening where a part of the brain bulges out, where the skull doesn't develop all the way. And I when I first noticed it, because it was right here between his eyes, it was like a little ball right there. And I kept telling the nurse, I was like, what is that? And she's like, oh, he's really small. It's just extra skin. So I'm like, okay. A week or two later, I'm like, what is that? She's like, it's still extra skin. His head needs to grow. And after about a month, I was like, that little spot is pulsatile. It's moving. I'm like, there's veins in it. I was like, you cannot tell me that is skin. And so I was like, what else can we do here? Again, this is that advocacy part. Like, you have to learn to use your voice.
You have to.
I'm like, I'm not going to let you just tell me that's skin.
Right.
Finally, he sees a neurosurgeon and he goes, I don't know pretty much how to explain this, but here's the encephalocele. This is what it looks like. It's a rare condition. I think 1 in maybe 10,000 babies are born with it. He's like, but it's brain tissue. You were right. That little bump right there, it's brain tissue. It's nerves. It's veins. It's things that should be inside the skull. The best way to explain it. But there's no piece of skull there to cover it. So it's exposed. I'm like, okay, God, look.
What's going on?
Miscarriages. We've had this Sakash thing. I've had this baby at 26 weeks.
Why?
And now you're throwing this on the plate.
Right.
Like, you have got to be kidding me. I am 26 years old. I'm in my last term of getting my master's of legal studies. I'm trying to keep going.
Right.
And you just keep throwing stuff on my plate.
Like, one thing or another.
Come on. And I'm like, you cannot possibly think I'm this strong. And so we get to the point where he's discharged from the NICU. Let me back up. I'm sorry. While he was in the NICU, he got RSV, pneumonia, and staph infection.
Wait, when was this? What year?
2017, he was born.
2017, okay.
January of 2018, while he was still in the NICU, just a teeny tiny little 3-pound baby still.
Yeah.
got RSV, pneumonia, and staph.
Oh,
And the doctor goes, I don't know what to tell you because some full term, fully developed babies don't survive RSV. You have a 3-pound baby who's now 34 weeks gestation. I don't know how this is going to come. He was
oh,
on life support. He was on all kinds of things. January 15th, 2018, I'll never forget it. The doctor called me. He said, can you get here in 10 minutes? I said, I could probably get there in less than 10 minutes. What's wrong? And he goes, we've worked on him all night, and I think he's just tired. Those were the words that he used. And again, that's something I'll never forget. He said, I think he's just tired now. And
oh,
I got to that hospital as fast as I could. It was like tunnel vision
yeah.
because this is not happening. You're not going to tell me over the phone that my son has approximately 10 minutes to live. Like,
Oh,
we're not doing this. Everything we've already gone through, we're not doing it.
no.
I got there to a completely unrecognizable baby. He was blue, he was swollen. There was blood in the nose and mouth because they were doing all this work on him. Oh my gosh, it was nothing that I would wish on any parent ever.
Oh, my God.
And he says, I don't think he's going to make it through the day. But if he does, we'll see what else we can do. We'll reach out to other hospitals. We'll do all these things to try to save him if he can survive one more day.
Oh, my goodness, Carrita.
At this point in the story, I'm kind of in that season where it's like, God, I have no choice but to trust you, right? I have no choice but to let you do whatever you're going to do because none of this I am capable of handling on my own. And he survived. Monday morning, he called and he said, we wanted to transport him to another hospital, but he won't survive the transport because we'd have to take him off the machines. So I'm like, oh my God, you told me if he survived, you
You
guys would do what you had to do to save him.
right,
Like, what are we doing here?
right.
And I said, okay, God, if you let him survive that one day like they requested, I know you're going to get the glory out of this. It'll be done.
Yeah.
And 2 months later, I brought him home from the NICU. No oxygen support, nothing. He was okay. He was living, thriving, breathing. He was still a little small. He was about 6 pounds at this point,
Oh,
but
my
he
God.
was doing phenomenal.
Oh,
And I just, oh my gosh, 116 days. He came home March 6th, I believe, 2018.
yeah.
And that's one of those things where I think prior to this, I was telling my story to someone and I said that was the first time in 116 days I felt like I could breathe. Because the whole time you're just holding your breath and you're waiting and you're praying and you're tarrying and you're fasting. You're like, God, you have got to do something.
Yeah.
But you don't feel like God is doing anything in that moment because it's
Ooh.
like you keep throwing things at me instead of making him better. You're adding new conditions here. You're
Right,
adding
right,
new trauma, and you're
right,
not fixing the trauma that's already there.
right,
And
right,
how am I supposed to keep going with this?
right.
And about a month later, I was in prayer, and God said, "This is your story that I need you to share. This is a triumph, a victory that I need you to put out there because people need to see who I am and what I'm capable of."
Ooh.
And it's like in that moment, everything clicked to me. Everything
Yeah.
clicked. This isn't about me. This isn't about me. This isn't about my son. I am simply a vessel for the world to see who Jesus Christ is, what his light looks like, what his miracle working power looks like, what his favor looks like. This is what I am called to do. And as painful as that may sound, when we say yes to God, we don't get to choose how he uses us. When
Mm.
we say, God, yes, you can use me, but only like this, it doesn't work like that. When you say, yes, God, use me, you have to be prepared for God to use you how he sees fit. And I had to come to terms with that. I felt like there was so much happening, so many things to navigate. And even at 13 months old, remember the encephalocele we talked about? It
Yeah.
started to double in size and it was causing my son to lose his eyesight.
Oh my gosh.
So the week of Christmas at 13 months old, December 2018, the doctor says we have to operate. We need to do a brain surgery and we need to do it now.
Oh my gosh.
6-hour brain operation on a 13-month-old.
Little baby.
Words cannot describe my thankfulness for that surgeon, but I know that God ordained him for that moment.
Ooh.
Because it was, to this day when we go see him, there's just like, and he's a Christian, he's a believer, and I know that God did that for me because
Yeah.
I needed to be at peace with who was caring for my child. And again, we talked about that in the beginning too, how God will give us those little glimmers of light. Says, I know this time is hard, but I got you. And
Yeah.
sometimes we're so consumed with the situation that we miss those moments.
Yes.
And I had to realize that God was still working, even though it didn't feel like it. Something was
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
And my son had 6 screws and a metal plate put in at 13 months old. He is now 6 years old. He has never needed a revision, has never needed that brain surgery repaired, nothing. And I said at that moment, I said, God, I know, well, I'm not having any more kids. This is it. This is it. I know. I thank God for the one that you gave me, for the miracle that you gave me. I will tell the story. I promise I will. Like, you will get all the glory. But this is
I ain't
it.
doing it again.
I'm not doing it again. Like,
Oh
no
my
way.
God.
I cannot. Like, there is
No.
no way you're going to call me to do this again.
Uh-uh.
And I said, I can't do it. I like, no, we're good. We're good here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when my son was 3,
Uh-huh.
he started to talk about being like a big brother. And I'm like, oh no, we're not doing this. We're not doing it. And I prayed and I prayed and I prayed.
He's talking, walking, everything on
Yeah.
time.
Oh yeah. He's in therapy. He has always been in physical therapy, occupational and speech, but he has been phenomenal. Oh my gosh. He's in kindergarten now.
Wow.
Doing amazing. So excited for first grade.
He's getting ready to graduate from kindergarten too.
Yes. Yes.
So
His old graduation pictures came in the mail and I cried like a baby. I said, Lord. And I feel like I need to kind of reel this in because see, now I feel like there's another part of the story. We talked about his graduation pictures.
Yeah.
January 29th,
Uh-huh.
my son went in to get tubes put in his ears. Just a
Mhm.
simple little surgery, supposed to be 20 minutes. He
Yeah.
suffered a pulmonary edema coming out of surgery. His lungs filled with fluid and his heart stopped. 61 minutes they worked on him to resuscitate him. And he was admitted to the pediatric ICU in critical condition.
Oh my gosh.
And the doctor, she said, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've only seen this happen to 5 kids. She said, but if we can get him over this hump, he'll be fine. She said, but sometimes we can't get them over the hump, and that's where we lose them.
Ooh.
That was January 29th. February 14th, on Valentine's Day, he was back at school taking his graduation pictures.
Girl, stop.
Because that's just how good God is, okay? That is the miracle worker that I serve. I don't know about anybody else, but that is what I said when I got those graduation pictures in the mail and I cried like a baby. That is why. That is why. And so, because I said I could have been the outfit that he wore for graduation pictures could have been his funeral outfit.
Come on.
And God did not see fit to allow that to be his story.
No.
And so that is where, look, I know this story might be all over the place, but y'all bear with me, okay? Look, God, when God is moving in your life, sometimes it's hard to contain every testimony because it's like they're coming back to back. Yeah. And you might not feel it in that moment. You're like, my life has just been a mess for the last 6 years. But when you're in moments like this and you're telling the story, it's almost like the goodness of God overtakes you. You're like, wait a minute. I feel like I've been going through a lot, but really I've just been experiencing a plethora of miracles.
Girl.
I have just been a vessel for God's miracles for the last 6 years. And that's kind of those moments where, and I feel like this is the first time I've had that realization. So y'all bear with me for a moment.
No, this is good.
Wait a minute. I'm kind of coming to terms with, for the last 6 years, I have simply been a vessel for God to show people what he is capable of.
Yeah. Jesus.
And we're gonna get back to what we were talking about with the
No,
infertility
Carrita,
and the
please, would you let
pregnancy.
me go?
I
Would you let it
promise.
flow?
I promise.
Girl.
And so we'll back up to where I said I was done having kids, right? And then my son's like, oh, I want to be a big brother. And I'm like, nope, we're not doing it. So we'll fast forward to when he's 4 and he starts pre-K. He started school in August, and my sister was his teacher, and it was just the most amazing little experience for our whole family. But my sister's his pre-K teacher. And he started drawing pictures of a baby sister. And my sister knows I'm not pregnant, okay? She's like, girl, why is your child in here telling people he has a sister? I was like, I don't know, but tell him to stop. Why is he doing that?
Spread of rumors.
Exactly. Don't be telling people you have a sister. No, you don't. And in September, I found out I was pregnant.
Hold on. Okay. Can I just say this real quick?
Absolutely.
What did you say to your son when he came home and there's a picture of this little baby, a baby sister? What did you say?
Listen, I said, he said, I don't have a sister yet, but I'm going to have a sister.
And what did you say?
Okay. I let him believe that he was going to have a sister. I said, okay. But at the same time, that was one of those painful things for me because even though I said, and I skipped over this part of the story, I'm sorry. When he was 3 and he started talking about wanting to be a big brother, we did try for another baby. And when I went in for my 10-week checkup, the baby didn't have a heartbeat. And so that was during COVID. And so that was a whole nother type of grief where you're going through all this alone. Nobody can go to your appointments with you. You're going through procedures alone. And it's just you and God. That's it. You and God in those moments. And so that was my 3rd loss. So when he started talking about this baby sister, I said, oh no. Mm-mm.
Hold on. I got to ask you something.
Yeah.
Okay. So when he said it the first time, I need to know deep down inside.
Yeah.
Did you believe him a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It has been spoken over my son since birth that he was a prophet. That he was a prophet to the nations. And it's still, till this day, people will not even know him and will still speak that about his life.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I knew that, okay, God, you use our children, right? Exactly.
We know our babies too.
Exactly. And they always say God will use the babies because he knows that they can get you. They can get you.
What did he say? Out of the mouth of babes.
Out of the mouth of babes. Okay. So part of me did believe him. And when I had that 3rd miscarriage, I was like, okay, God, we must have mixed some things up. We mixed some things up. This didn't happen. Shortly after that, I went to a conference in Ohio where I was speaking. And right before that, I was diagnosed with adenomyosis. It's a condition of the uterus similar to endometriosis where there's extra tissue, things that shouldn't be there, essentially, that prevent you from carrying a baby or having regular menstrual cycles, extremely painful, things like that. Irregular bleeding, all these things. And at the conference, the pastor that spoke, she spoke on the woman with the issue of blood. And I said, okay, God, here you go again. You get me all riled up. Like, I know you're about to do something. I know you're about to do it. And she came up to me at the end of the conference and she said, I don't know your story or what you're going through, but everything that the doctors have diagnosed you with is only because they needed a documented miracle. It needed to be put on paper that you couldn't get pregnant. You had to go through infertility because they needed to put on paper that you were struggling with infertility so that the miracle of your next child will be documented. And I said, okay. God, I believe you. I believe you. And this was in March of 2022. I believe March 2022. No, 2021. And I said, okay, do your thing, God. Time goes on. My son's in pre-K. He's talking about how, he's going to have this sister and all these things in August. September, I found out I'm pregnant. And I said, there's no way. There's no way. There is no way he spoke this thing like this. Like the way he spoke that thing into existence.
This is crazy.
And then we find out it's a girl. I would also like to add, y'all, we only have boys in our family. My daughter is the first baby girl. My sisters and I all have boys. My mom only has grandsons. That's it. So we find out it's a girl.
Sister?
Yes, myself and I'm the youngest of 3 girls. And then my mom wanted 1 grandson, okay? And she got 5.
Look.
She got 5. And so we were all praying for this like beautiful miracle baby girl to take place, but it was so hard for me to fully believe that in the moment because of everything I had been through.
Yeah.
But it's almost like when my son spoke it, it's like that kind of sealed it for me. When God used him to speak that thing, I said, okay, this is the word of the Lord, and I'm going to believe it.
Girl.
He prophesied all the way, and I kid you guys not, her conception, her gender, and the day she would be born. The day he said she was going to be born, she was born. And
how did it tell me the story, Carrita?
Okay. So we were at my nephew's birthday party. His birthday is April 10th. So he just had a birthday yesterday, his golden birthday, actually. We were at his birthday party last year, and my oldest sister was going on vacation. And she said, Isaac, tell your baby sister to hold on till we get back. And he said, oh, she's going to hold on because she's going to be born on Friday. My sister was coming back Thursday. She said, you think she's going to be born Friday? He said, yep. She said, well, that's it. That seals it for me. Because at this point, we've already decided he's the prophet of the family, okay? That's it. He's the family prophet. If Isaac says it, so it shall be.
Oh, my God.
So that's just kind of how my family operates at this point. Ooh. And he said she'll be born on Friday. I had a doctor's appointment that Thursday. And I had been pretty good in my pregnancy, no major complications. When I went in that Thursday, my blood pressure was really high. And my doctor, she goes, have you ever had preeclampsia? I said, nope, just, the incompetent cervix. So, okay, we're going to still take the blood pressure a few more times. It was consistently high. She goes, let's just go over to labor and delivery. Either way, you're 36 weeks. We need to take the cerclage out now. Anyway, cerclages are usually removed about 36 or 37 weeks if they hold, the way that they're intended to hold. So she said, we can take the cerclage out today anyway. So we'll at least take over to labor and delivery for that. When I got to labor and delivery, my blood pressure was still really high. And then I started having these headaches. And she's like, okay, this is sounding like preeclampsia. Yeah. And I'm like, no, it's not. Because that's not one of
the things on my list.
Exactly. We're not doing it. Like, God already gave me enough stories to tell and testimonies to share. We're not going to add another one, okay? We're not. And she's like, okay, well, we're still going to admit you. You're going to stay here at least, maybe just a few hours. We'll see. My blood pressure never went down. Nothing.
Thanks.
And she said, are you okay with just going in for a C-section? I said, God, we can do this. 36 weeks, we'll do it.
Yeah.
By the time they pulled my daughter out, it was 12:34 a.m. on Friday morning.
Shut up!
And she was born on 4/14 and 4 pounds, 14 ounces.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes. And so when my son said she was going to be born Friday, she was born at midnight on Friday.
Wow. And it didn't matter how bad you was trying to get home.
Nope. He said it. He said she's going to be born. And she was born. And now this coming Sunday, she'll be a year old.
Thank you.
And so the timing of this podcast, Leah, we talked about this before. This is also the first day of Black Maternal Health Week.
Yes.
And so I think sharing this story in this space at this time is not by coincidence.
No, it's not.
And I am extremely grateful for that. And the fact that my daughter's birthday is Sunday, and we're talking about the miracle of her conception and her life and all these things. And God has sustained her for a whole year now. Like, here we are for an entire year that I get to tell this testimony of how we made it over and this journey. And so I'll stop at the story there, and then we can add any other pieces that we need to add.
Okay, I don't even know. There's not much for me to add, but I will say this. I will say this. Your story reminds me of the children of Israel and when Moses led them out of Egypt.
My God.
And I just hear so loudly, even with every testimony, every miracle, the prophecy that the lady gave you at the conference that had to be done. Oh my God, Jesus. I listened to Pastor John Hanna, and he's doing
Yeah.
a series on it had to be done this way.
Yeah.
Everything that you've been through had to be done this way.
Yeah.
Think about all the times that Pharaoh said no, no, no. All the miracles that the children of Israel was able to see before leaving Egypt. And when they actually left, and here's what I hear so loud and clear, and you said it. Ooh, you said it. Even with your daughter, this whole first year of her just having just this beautiful year, he had to get you to that side. So I felt like there was a point with you were at the red sea, and it was just that it wasn't, there was no way through, and he parted it.
My
And you
God.
got out through the other side, honey, and you are absolutely right. I feel so strongly right now. This is your season to share your story and all the miracles, baby. You have miracles sitting there right there with you in your house.
Yeah.
Prophesying every day. Oh my
Jesus.
God, Carrita, I am just like, I love your story. And I love your story. And I didn't know that it was Black Maternal
Health Week. Black Maternal Health Week.
And I'm going to try to push this, and I want to get this episode out because I believe that it needs to be highlighted. Your story needs to be told. It needs to be told. I need other people to know that they too can get through that other side.
Yes.
And you are right. God gave you a book, honey. He gave you more than a book. He gave you a ministry. Okay, Jesus. Let me calm down.
Look, oh my God. I have chills right now. Oh my goodness. I have chills, like literally from head to toe. I have chills right now. Jesus.
You had me over here in chills. I'm all crooked on my seat. I gotta get my seat together. I'm about to fall off. Okay.
Oh my God.
Okay, we shared a lot, and I don't want to take too much of your time, but I want you to talk to some people right now. I need everybody who is listening who are like me and you, Carrita, who is off, you sitting here hanging off your seat right now. I need you to talk to us, no matter where you are in either if you're raising kids, if you're raising a child who has maybe health issues, or you had to go through some ups and downs, some ins and outs, and you are just trying to just hold it all together with everything that's coming at you. Carrita, I want you to give them some advice. Give them something to hold on to.
The first thing I want to say is it's okay not to be okay. Everything that we go through, we try to keep this mask on. Like, I got this, I'm good. This is not affecting me. That's not reality. You cannot heal what you won't expose. And so it's okay when your days are hard, when you're like, God, I know this is not the life that you have for me. We've been there. I've been there. Like, this cannot possibly be what you called me to motherhood for. Jesus. And when you allow God into that space that feels like brokenness, that feels like disappointment, he'll use that. And he'll give you things to remind you that this is indeed what I called you for. You're graced for this. You're anointed for this. And we may not feel like it every day, but when you just go back and let God remind you of that word, that you can do this, you can't. And community is so important. And that's another reason why I have the nonprofit and I share my story. And I put myself out there to connect with other moms, because you have to know that you're not alone either. You know, when you're in those seasons where it's like nobody understands what I'm going through, sometimes the only person you can talk to is someone who has been there, someone who has sat in that seat, because everybody will not understand the weight of what you're dealing with if they've never carried it. And so getting yourself around the right people and asking God to lead you to the right connections and the right groups. Every mom group is not for everybody. Every nonprofit is not for everybody, because then sometimes we find ourselves comparing. And that's where a lot of struggle comes from too. well, my child was born at 26 weeks and, they don't talk or they don't walk. And that's okay
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
God had a different story written for your child. So don't look at my child and think that your child is supposed to be the same way. Because when God gives us a story and he gives us a testimony, and like Leah said, a ministry, because I truly do believe for me, this is a ministry.
Yes.
And that can't be all made up of one thing that looks the same in a cookie cutter bow with a package that says we've all gone through the exact same thing, we'll all be okay. That's not reality. And
Mhm.
that's not how you reach people and save people and heal people and encourage people by
Yeah.
saying we've all had these little beautiful rainbow package stories. It doesn't work like that. So
No.
whatever dark, difficult part of your story that you may be navigating right now, I promise you God will get the glory out of it if you allow him to. You have to give him those broken pieces and say,
Mm.
use it for your glory because I can't do anything with it.
Oh my God.
And that's my tidbit in my close, that when you have all these broken pieces and all these little traumas that you've experienced, just put them all in a box, give it to God and say, whatever you plan to do with it, have your way.
Oh,
Because for me, it's just extra weight that I don't need to carry.
then I don't need to carry. It is too heavy.
It's too heavy.
Ooh, wait, Carita. I am this. I don't even know what to say. And you so right. You are so right. Bring it all. I always say sometimes we try to bundle things up and bring it to God all pretty. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Lord, I done did this. I
Yep.
fasted. I did this.
Yes,
I ain't say one. I ain't go off on nobody and cuss nobody
exactly.
out. Lord, now can you receive my brokenness? And we try
Yep.
to put a bow on it, right? I
Yep.
have learned, and I am still learning, because we all want to present it to God in this perfect way, saying, God,
Mm-hmm.
I've exhausted everything that I can possibly do. Now
Yep.
just please take my hot mess.
Yep. Yep.
he wants
Yep.
he wants to take our mess. He wants to take us
Yes.
in pieces. So I
Yes.
love that. I love
Yes.
that, love that, love it. Carita, where can we find your book and where can we follow you and join your nonprofit
Yes.
and on your
Yes.
community?
So my nonprofit on Instagram is the P2 Project.
Mm-hmm.
It is the Premium Promise Project Inc. But on Instagram, it is the P2 Project. The website and everything is linked on our Instagram.
Okay.
And for my books and everything, there's Love Always Carita. There is that Instagram page as well as my website. And you can connect with me there. And I also have a service if someone is in a space where they want to kind of start sharing their story or want to start writing their books and things like that. I'm more than willing to help you get started with that. And I do not charge for that because, again, I feel like that is a ministry that God has given me. And I want to use it and treat it as such. So lovealwayscarita.com and the p2project.org is
Oh,
where you can find my story, all those things, my books, connect with me, whatever else.
I love that. So when you go out and you speak, I want to, for anyone who's listening who may have a group, or maybe you're a healthcare worker, and maybe you're a doula, or maybe you're a midwife, and you would like to reach out to Carita. Are these places that you can go and speak at? Maybe speak to a group of women.
Mhm.
Is this something that you can offer, and how do they find
Yes.
you, book you there?
Again, that's also on my website. There's a booking link on my website, or you can email me. It allows you to do that from my website as well. But there's also a booking link on my website with all that information. And I am more than willing to come out and speak, whatever the settings are. Like I said, if it's a church service, hospital, anything, because I feel like even in those settings, and sometimes it's in
Mm.
the church settings, right? Where these things feel even more ugly because you're like, I believe in God and I have faith, but I'm still going through all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so that is where I truly believe that my passion lies as well. Just kind of reminding women that we can have all the faith in the world and God
Mm.
still has a story for us that we
Mm.
still have to go through to get to the other side. And that's okay.
Come on. I'll say this last thing, Karita, and then I will let you go and let you respond and let you go. But
Sure.
when I was going through my point in time where I could not have kids, I didn't understand why. I didn't understand what was wrong with me, why this was happening. And I was not deep in my faith. I always say I was supposed to grow up in church, but it didn't happen that way. I have
Yep.
a long story. We don't have time, but I didn't know the story of Hannah. I
Yeah.
didn't know the story of Hannah.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you just brought up about, sometimes we're in the church. We're in the church. Hannah went to the church. For those who don't know the story, you got to read it. It's in 1 Samuel. Hannah went through to the church. And the priest Eli said, "Get out of here, you drunk girl. How long you gonna drink?"
Right. Right.
So it's okay to
Yeah.
be in the church and not know how to just say help.
Yes. Yes.
And if I hear what you're saying, Carrita, it's easy when you can relate to someone, where you can be vulnerable with someone and say, "Here's my
Yes.
story. I have faith. The Lord help my unbelief."
Yes.
So,
Yes.
okay. Yes. Okay. Let me just. Did you have anything else? I mean, I thought we just exhausted it all.
No, I am good. I am good. I don't have anything else. I am good.
I would love. Listen, I'm gonna put it out there right now. I'd love to have you back. I wanted to.
Sure.
I can't even believe that we've exhausted an hour already.
I know.
Forget the questions. I didn't get to none of them. But
I'm sorry.
remember, I told you to let God lead it. So, ladies, if you are listening to this episode and you were blessed by something that was said, and you feel like you can take this and run with it, we ask that you run with it. We ask you share it with a family member, share it with a sister, share it with a couple who just needs to know that hang in there, have faith, hang in there. And if you need any extra support and help, please reach out to Carrita. I will leave all of her information in the description below. This episode was so full, so full of good food, good meat, good substance to hold us through and just carry us out through our journey, no matter where you are in the fight. Hang in there. Thank you for being here with us. And thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to another episode of Woman Witness Podcast of Stories at the Well. I'm your host, Leah Fortier. Until next time, bye.